G'day. The Australian Grand Prix has been absent for 2 years, but great news, it's back bigger and better than ever. I'm going to run through some of the changes to the event, plus revisit that fateful day on March 13, 2020. The 2020 Australian Grand Prix was cancelled just hours before the cars were due on track for FP1. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. We'd done the driver portraits on the Thursday, a big buzz about the race getting underway, but there was also a lot of chatter that one of the team members had contracted COVID and it might affect the race. I went home on the Thursday night thinking, I'm not sure we're going to go ahead on Friday. So I got into the track early. My friends in the paddock were telling me that there was something not quite right. There was nobody giving any assurances on what was going to happen that day. I went out to the front gate and they hadn't opened the gates when they should have. There was a big crowd out there getting a little bit antsy, not being fed much information. Heading back to the paddock, I saw one driver drive in, Daniil Kvyat, that was it. And then later in the morning, we found out that Seb had actually caught a flight out at 3 a.m. that day. So at that point, when I found that out, I figured we're not racing, we're just waiting for an official announcement. That came, I believe it was about noon. We were all asked to be at the front of the paddock for a press conference, and there it was formally announced that the event had been cancelled. That's a brief summary of my recollection of the day's events, but Andrew Westacott is the CEO of the Australian Grand Prix. I spoke to him recently about what he remembered of the day.
I know it was Friday the 13th of March and it was a really unique set of circumstances. A McLaren mechanic tested positive and I got the call. There was about 9 different tests that had been done, probably for precautionary reasons. We got a call, we were at Government House for the official welcome reception with Her Excellency, and they said, Andrew, we've got 8 tests back and they're all negative. And I said, what about the 9th? They said, oh, we haven't got that back yet. And I said, well, give us a call, and it sort of, I started to smell a rat. And anyway, the 9th one came through and that was positive, and we left the Government House reception back to the circuit and we were there until about 3:30 in the morning, and you know, there was lots of dialogue going on between the teams and the FIA and Formula One in hotel rooms. There was dialogue back to Paris where Jean Todt, the president of the FIA, was. Chase Carey was on a plane from Ho Chi Minh City to Melbourne, so he was in transit, and therefore there was dialogue back to Formula One, but without the CEO of F1. Chase arrived into town on the Friday morning. We'd met with them all, and with also the directives of the Victorian government. By the time everything came together, the only option that we had was the event wasn't going to proceed, and it was a sad morning.
It certainly was, but this year there have been some great changes made to the track.
A number of years ago, what we needed to do when we were talking to Formula One, they said, everyone loves coming down to Melbourne, you put on a great show, but you've got to do something about the track. And it was 25 years old, and so rather than just resurface, we looked at a lot of geometric changes, we looked at asphalt changes, widening of pit lane and changing of 5 corners, the removal of a chicane, which was around Lakeside Drive, and now also probably the addition of a 4th DRS zone and 5 seconds a lap quicker. So it's promising to be all delivering more exciting racing.
And the widening of pit lane will also bring about a couple of changes.
It's going to reduce the penalty of a pit stop, but secondly, we've gone to a really higher abrasive asphalt mix. So hopefully we get to a point where we've got the 1-stop, 2-stop strategy scenario.
This year, ticket sales for the Australian Grand Prix have gone crazy.
We've never had a sellout situation, possibly since year 1 in 1996. What we've seen is that demand has increased progressively for the Saturday and for Friday and Thursday. So we're going to have a situation that come race day, there's probably going to be 3 of the 4 days are going to be very close to or over the 100,000 mark. There's so many new grandstands. We've gone from about a 30,000 grandstand build to 40,000 people from a temporary grandstand point of view. If you love being opposite the garages, you're in the Fangio stand. Turn 1 and Turn 2, you're in the Jones stand or the Brabham stand. But we've actually put at Turn 11 a brand new stand called the Webber stand, named after Mark Webber. And we've put some other grandstands in locations around the lakeside areas.
I asked Andrew where was the highest likelihood of a crash happening at the Albert Park circuit.
Historically, that's Turn 3. You know, that's a turn we widened by, I think, 3.5 metres. And back in year 1, that's where Martin Brundle went over the top. That's where Fernando Alonso did a spin in the McLaren and hitting the wall and ending up way down the gravel trap. So I definitely say it's Turn 3 is where the biggest incidents occur.
I can tell you that the media the drivers, the teams love the Australian event. It has such a good vibe. In fact, I asked Andrew what stood it apart from perhaps other Grand Prix.
What we do in Melbourne is we have a carnival atmosphere. We've got lots of different hospitality options. We've got music on every day. We've got general admission viewing hubs with big screens, lots of food, lots of entertainment, and a really social vibe 4.5 kilometres from the CBD of Melbourne.
And of course, Western Australian Daniel Ricciardo is a huge draw card for the event.
He's such a friendly bloke. One of the things that Daniel's probably done is being too open. We've got to make sure that we respect that level of focus that he needs. Now, we're not the season opener, so that's good from a Daniel point of view. We can be a little bit, play it down a little bit, because he gives so much time and energy to the fans. They can come along and see him on things like the Melbourne Walk, and we have big autograph stages, but they're more like Q&A stages, and the fans can get up close and see the Formula One drivers arrive in the circuit when they come along the Melbourne Walk or are being interviewed by the Formula One talent on stage.
But Daniel certainly had some bad luck at the track over the last couple of races.
The last time Daniel completed a lap at Albert Park, he was in a Red Bull.
Fair point. I often get asked by people, where do I meet a driver? Well, I think the Melbourne event is certainly one of the greatest opportunities for you as a punter to get close to a driver. And that's mainly due to the Melbourne Walk.
We model it on the sort of the red carpet of the Oscars. The drivers get dropped off. They're now, I won't use the word forced, but one could suggest that they, the only way to get to the paddock to do their day's employment is to walk down the Melbourne Walk. And in doing so, they walk past the fans who are either, maybe getting a selfie. They certainly were pre-COVID.
And I think that'll continue. I've certainly seen that in the first 2 races. They're not shy about posing for selfies and signing autographs. But where exactly is the Melbourne Walk?
It's in a general admission viewing area. Anyone can wander up, and that's great for young fans who have probably been drawn to Formula One from a Netflix perspective, or they just love seeing Aussie heroes.
Daniel's last outing in Melbourne in 2019 didn't end so well. Remember, he, on the start, hit a curb.
We're a street circuit, and there's probably 30 or 40 different driveways that come into and out of the track. And he chose to be off the track at a point where there was one of these sort of driveway-style dips. Now, that's been removed. We have re-asphalted that in doing the resurfacing the track, so it won't be there, and I'd expect in the papaya colours of McLaren, Daniel's going to stay on the black stuff this time.
And typically, where do the supporters for this event come from?
Look, historically it's been the European heartland, but we've seen a lot come in from Asia as well because of the proximity for people to come down very quickly. New Zealand's always been a really strong market. The heritage of Formula One racing with Bruce McLaren hailing from New Zealand originally, and I guess Liam Lawson now being a great young driver coming through the ranks in Formula 3, Formula 2, there's always an interest from the Kiwis.
The Australian Grand Prix from the 7th to the 10th of April takes place in Melbourne on a street circuit around Albert Park. I'll be there. I can't wait to be sharing what I see with you via Instagram. I'm having a meet and greet for all of my YouTube members on the Wednesday night. If you're looking at this video after the Wednesday night, it went really well. And the details will be in the community tab. If you've enjoyed this video, please take a moment and click the like button. You also should subscribe and become a member so you can get invites to meet and greets and other great bonuses. You'll find all of my digital images at prostarpics.com for my F1 wall art, merchandise and F1 driver books. Head to kimillman.com for my best images live from the track. And all during the week, I'm going to urge you to head over to Instagram and search @KimIllman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. And this is what Lancelin looks like today.